when this thing goes live, and this thumbnail thing is ridiculous. Hello, everyone. My name is Slate, and I just want to share really quickly, while I have no kids in the house right now, a little bit about our daughter's autism recovery. So this, you guys, is the amount of tests we have done and the amount of doctors we have seen. This has not been a walk in the park. It has not been an easy journey at all. A lot of the times I have kind of felt like people have thought I was crazy, if I'm completely honest. This has been an uphill fight for sure from the beginning. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about kind of what I've learned along the way. And hopefully this would be helpful to someone else who might be starting this journey or who has recently been given a diagnosis of a child on the spectrum. Gracie is my daughter. She had no issues the day she was born. Fabulous, wonderful, 9 on the APGAR, no issues, nothing like that. I'm not going to talk about vaccines here. If that's a subject you would be interested in talking about, please contact me because I would love to talk to you about that. We vaccinated on a pretty standard schedule. We had delayed a few. When she was 2 years old, she was bitten by a tick and she was diagnosed with strep on the same day. And it was around that time that she was just constantly sick. She would constantly get like a rash and a fever regularly. We had like 3 ear infections, I think, in a row. Like just a sick kid, like just could not keep her healthy. When we still had pretty regular, great eye contact, still some, good development wise, talking, looking at us, those kinds of things. Was a little bit of a picky eater at that time. When we moved into an older home. And when we moved, y'all, it was like, I don't know. It was like we lost her. She was gone. She stopped looking us in the eyes. She started screaming every 15 minutes. I had no idea what was going on or why she was doing that. She started lining cars up and putting them in a bin, and lining cars up and putting them in a bin. All that to say, you guys, the regression continued to happen. And we had a very unhappy, hurting little girl. She was gone. She was gone. And I remember sitting on the couch and just thinking, will we get her back? Will we ever get her back? And I didn't know. So at that time, I ran to the library and looked up all the autism books I could, because I was bound and determined that this was not going to be our child's reality for the rest of her life. And that's really what it takes, is saying, I'm not going to let this take my child from me. I'm going to figure this out. What's going on? We're going to figure it out. And that's been huge. That grit and that, I will not let this be the reality for my child, has gotten me through so much, through depression and anxiety and despair and crying every day and just hurting for your child, let alone how she's feeling, right? Like so hard. So that grit, huge. And just God's faithfulness, just carrying us through, has really just his grace has just been huge and all over this whole thing. So I got a book called Autism Breakthrough by Ron Kaufman. Definitely recommend you read it. He has some unique principles, and all the other books I read, I hated. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. I went, you guys, for a week to their training program up north and got trained in some of their strategies. Totally amazing. Came home, started implementing them, saw wonderful improvement. They have an idea called, they call it, what's it called? They call it, I'm totally blanking and I can't remember what they call it. But you sit with your child and you do the repetitive activity with them. That's that you don't place demands on them. You repeat whatever they're doing and you do it with them, and you don't ask them to do anything. The first time I did it with Gracie, Joining. They call it joining. She looked at me for the first time in months. It was nuts. And I was like, oh my word, we're onto something. We have to keep doing this. So I highly recommend their strategies and their protocol because I saw amazing results with Gracie when we used some of their really child-focused, child-led strategies. My husband, Michael, went next. And while he was there, he met someone who told him about a doctor in South Carolina. At the time, we didn't really know who to take her to. Our MD at the time, our family practitioner, we asked about gluten-free, dairy-free, anything else, and she said, no, it takes too much time, not worth it. So we really didn't pursue it because she had really advised us not to, which at the time I was like, really? Like all of these people online, like I would Google stuff a lot and read blogs, and a lot of parents would say gluten dairy free was really helpful. Anyway, we go to this doctor and he starts running tests, y'all. And these tests are expensive, but very, very insightful. Lots of tests. The first test we did was a comprehensive stool analysis, and it essentially looked at Gracie's gut. And if you've heard this, like you'll hear now that our health begins in our gut, that your serotonin and dopamine actually are created in your gut. Like there's so much happening in your gut. All the nutrients that go throughout your body happen in your gut. So if you have issues, you're in trouble. So what we found was that Gracie had no good bacteria in her gut. All she wanted to eat was sugar or chocolate or sweet things or carbs. We put her on a gluten, dairy, and sugar-free diet because at the time it was very hard for her to get her to eat anything because she only wanted to start like 6 foods, like chicken nuggets, chocolate granola bars. What else would she eat? She would eat yogurt. All the dairy she would eat, and cheese. She would eat that all the time. But you guys, we put her on this diet, and I'm telling you, within 48 hours, she was looking at me. It was like clouds lifted from her. This glaze like came off of her. It was incredible. Very hard to do. I think we definitely had a yeast die off because she didn't sleep for 2 days. And you guys, she was not sleeping regularly. She would be awake from 2 to 6 a.m. regularly. It was very, very challenging. You know what sleep deprivation does to people. It's a bit challenging. So it was very hard for her to get the rest that she needs because obviously any child who needs to recover needs good sleep because that's how the body restores itself and recovers, is having good, solid, good chunks of sleep. And she was not getting that. So the comprehensive stool analysis was obviously very insightful and very helpful. The other thing we learned about her, you guys, is that she has what's called the MTHFR genetic mutation. I don't remember the name of I don't think it was the alpha genomics. We did do a test called the alpha genomics. And this tests for drug reactions that would be harmful to your child. This does have the MTHFR in it, I think. Okay, so this is going to show all the drugs that Gracie should never have because her body would essentially reject them or react to them in a negative way. Really helpful to have this because it literally lists everything she shouldn't have. Very helpful to have. I'm trying to remember where that MTHFR genetic mutation, I honestly, I was hoping to be prepared here, y'all, and I'm not. The MTHFR genetic mutation was another genetics test that we did, and it showed us that she has a copy of a genetic mutation. So the MTHFR essentially means that you don't methylate properly. It means that you should never have folic acid. Folic acid is like a toxin to your body. Folic acid, it is in all of your gluten products, right? All of them. So going off gluten is huge because then that child is not dealing with that constant toxin going into their body. Folic acid is a no-no. You also need methylated B vitamins, or your body is actually not able to absorb the B vitamins because they need it in a methylated form. So you need methylated folate, you need methylated B vitamins. Super interesting. Google it. It's really interesting to learn about. That MTHFR also means that any kind of like toxin in the body is being held onto and not being released because they're very slow detoxifiers. So it takes a long time for them to get rid of the toxins in their body. So again, if you have a child with this or any kind of genetic mutation like this, you're going to want to make sure that you're avoiding toxins at all possible. And you're going to want to figure out ways to help them detox. So we used Fiji water for a season. Some people use like liquid silica. We used activated charcoal for a while. Right now we're using Pectisol C. And we have a doctor that actually has us on a specific it's called chlorestramine, and it's a binder. But you got to be careful with binders, right? Because you don't want to pull out all of the minerals in the body. So you've got to be slow. You've got to be careful. We have done everything under the guidance of a doctor, because it just was not a good thing for me to just guess and do whatever I wanted. I will show you this as well. This is Gracie's EEG. So you can see what was happening to her brain here. Essentially what was happening in Gracie's brain is that her frontal posterior at certain hertz is on fire. Most of that has to do with like her decision-making skills or her ability to just calm down when she gets upset. So, you know, all the things going on in the brain, in the body as well. So that was really interesting. We also did a food sensitivity test, and this one was very insightful. So this was called an MRT test. We got this from the doctor we were seeing back in the day. This was in 2017. And it showed us foods that Gracie was reactive to. When we pulled more of the foods that she was reactive to, we saw more results because it was like the inflammation in her body was going down. So definitely recommend that one as well, a food sensitivity panel. Again, it's not allergies. It's not allergies that you're testing for. You're looking for sensitivities. We also did this. This was really big. You know, I really think that heavy metals has a ton to do with symptoms of autism. So if you'll see here, you'll see this is the two different tests that we did for Gracie. And the first time we did the test, her aluminum was very, 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 very high. And also arsenic was high, and we had mercury as well, 0.14 of mercury, and her mineral levels were okay, some more in the middle range of things. After we had done some work with a few doctors and done Fiji water and activated charcoal, the levels of her heavy metals were definitely coming down. So the aluminum had gone from 6.9 to 5.6. Still not awesome. Still a lot of aluminum in her body. Heavy metals can cause the gut to not absorb correctly. It can block nutrients in the body. And obviously they're toxic and they can hide. They can hide in your system. So getting them out in a safe way is very, very challenging. So again, a Fiji water is a great option because it uses silica and it pulls very gently and slowly. We tried chlorella one time in like a half teaspoon to give it to Gracie. I think we put it in juice or something, and she began to vomit in the middle of the night. And that meant these heavy metals were being moved and pulled, and it was happening way too fast. And after that happened, she had like reflux issues for like 6 months. It was really hard, really sad to see that. So chlorella is a great option, but I definitely don't recommend it for children. And I definitely recommend working with a doctor to know what you're doing. At that point, we had just grabbed it off the shelf, and I was like, here, let's try this. Not good, not good. Don't do that. But to move heavy metals, again, there's different ways to do it. Some people would recommend activated charcoal, 3 days on, 2 days off. Other people do Andy Cutler chelation. You can use TRS. We're currently using TRS because it's a spray and it's very easy. We do 2 sprays in the morning, 3 sprays at night. And I will tell you, when she's on TRS, her symptoms are a little bit tough, a little bit. It's hard. It's just hard. You can just notice more aggression and more rage in her. But when we go off it, like we took a break for a week, and it was like, who is this child, like using these words and being patient and not hitting when something's not going her way? Really, really good results. So again, heavy metals, I just think, in my opinion, are huge, and you've got to find a way that works for your child to help remove them from the body. So again, those were just some pieces, you guys. I don't want this to be super long. Some things that really helped us. We also use digestive enzymes right now to help Gracie digest things a little bit more easily. What else are we doing? We are also using an IG powder that helps heal the gut. So essentially what happened, the gut test that we took to a lot of different doctors, one doctor caught it, that she had strep in her gut. So essentially, you guys, when she had strep when she was 2, her body was not able to, her immune system was not able to fight it off correctly. And so it harbored and stayed in her gut. So she has it in her gut right now, which is technically a PANDAS diagnosis. Super interesting. If you learn about that, there's some books about that, a book called Saving Sammy. A lot of times kids will harbor this strep sickness if they don't fully recover from it. And it can cause some really like obsessive compulsive kinds of symptoms, things like that. It's hard, really hard. So Gracie essentially has this strep in her gut, and we are working to heal her gut with this IG powder. I need to do another video another time on the supplements that we're using, but I just wanted to cover quickly the testing that we have done and just how worth it has been, to get to the root of it. I just want to fight for every mama out there who has a child with special needs. There's a reason. There's a reason that your child is doing what they're doing. It could be parasites. It could be inflammation from food. It could be constipation. It could be a brain that just has no dopamine or serotonin. It could be strep in the gut or in the throat. There's so many things, but it could be low copper or low zinc. It could be low magnesium. But there's a reason that a child on the spectrum is behaving like they are. They could have mercury in their system up to the wazoo. They could have high aluminum. All of these heavy metals or low minerals or too high minerals are going to cause issues in the body. So there's a reason. There's a reason that these kids are doing specific things. So I just challenge you as a parent, have compassion on your kid, and help them figure out what's going in their body that would be causing some of the reactions that maybe you're seeing. There is a reason. It's not sometimes just that they're a difficult kid. A lot of the times it's that there are things going on biomedically that we can learn about and discover and help them. Now, we are seeing currently an integrative doctor. This has been my favorite. It's been my favorite so far. Definitely recommend the integrative doctor. Some parents with kids on the spectrum go to a MAPS doctor. Or a DAN doctor, Defeat Autism Now. Lots of Facebook groups out there where you can join and learn from other parents and what they're using and what they're finding to be effective or helpful for their children. Those have been super helpful to me. And also, I just think remembering to, get help and talk to other parents that like, who have you seen? What doctors have you seen? What's been helpful to you? And that has been just significantly helpful as well. But I definitely recommend having someone help you and lead you through the process and know what tests to look for and what symptoms to watch for as you're recovering your child. So love y'all. Bye.